Witcher 4 just got a ton of news. So there's been a lot of discussions surrounding The Witcher 4 ever since it was revealed during the Game Awards, with a lot of discussions on whether or not Ciri should be the main protagonist going forward, as well as some general concerns about CD Projekt Red as a studio after the disastrous launch of Cyberpunk 2077. Some are still not convinced that CD Projekt Red can make a good game, especially after Phantom Liberty released, which is kind of crazy to me. Now, the CEO also addressed some allegations against the company that we're going to talk about in just a bit, but we also got some news regarding how the game's trailer was created, which is honestly kind of mind-blowing. We have a lot to talk about, guys, so check the video chapters for easy viewing, and let's dive in. So yeah, like I mentioned, there's been a lot of discussions on social media amongst a lot of people on whether or not CD Projekt Red is really fit to take on The Witcher 4 following the release of Cyberpunk 2077 and the shaky launch that that game had. But also there was a number of developers who left CD Projekt Red and went to start their own studio called Rebel Wolves, and they're making a game called Dawnwalker, which is about to get revealed pretty soon, so that's exciting. But yeah, so following the disastrous launch that was Cyberpunk 2077, it left CDPR fans in a couple of groups. There was one group of people, which I consider myself a part of, that were like really excited for the game to release, that thought that the story and writing was really good, but the gameplay and technical issues were not up to standard for CDPR and were just really unacceptable straight up, but still had hope that the game would eventually improve, but would still remain hesitant and a bit skeptical about future projects that CDPR would do. And then there's another group of people who played Cyberpunk at launch, stopped playing immediately because of the technical issues, and turned away from CDPR forever and will never play another CDPR game again. So right now there's been some genuine concerns among CDPR fans on whether or not this is the same company that developed The Witcher 3 that is currently developing The Witcher 4. They're concerned that CDPR is a shell of their former self, which again is a genuine concern. So this brings us to a statement from Philip Weber, who is the narrative director on The Witcher 4. And this right here is the post that really got the community talking, and the CEO of CDPR actually chimed in as well, so let's just go ahead and read the tweet. So Philip said, 2 years ago we released a new quest for The Witcher 3, new designers and writers worked on it, preparing for The Witcher 4, together with one of our most senior quest designers who is with us since The Witcher 1. All in all, it was the perfect start to getting us back into the vibe. Now, this quest was released with the next gen update patch 4.0, and it's called In the Eternal Fire's Shadow, and it's a side quest for The Witcher 3. I'd also like to say this, if you haven't played this quest yet, I strongly recommend it, but make sure that the lighting is right as well, like make sure it's nighttime whenever you start the quest. So yeah, the fact that this quest was done with new designers and writers working on it, along with one of the most senior quest designers at CDPR, is honestly awesome, and it bodes well for the future. But this right here is when the CEO of CDPR, or rather the co-CEO, actually quote tweeted that and said this, and I quote, "The Witcher 3 turns 10 this May. Around 100 of its developers are working with us to this day on our new projects, including The Witcher 4. Some are actually veterans from The Witcher 2 and The Witcher 1, including my esteemed co-CEO Adam Badowski, who has been with the series since its inception back in 2002. So yeah, according to Michael Nowowski, the CEO, he said around 100 of the developers who worked on The Witcher 3 are still with him on the project today. And if you actually look at the development team breakdown, there's currently 400 people working on Project Polaris. So that means around 300 people are newer developers, or at least 300 people that didn't work on The Witcher 3. They likely worked on Cyberpunk 2077 as well as Phantom Liberty. Now, someone in the thread actually asked the question, is it many old experienced members on the team for The Witcher 4 or many recent newly hired? What's the ratio? Will it affect the darker and grimmer tone of the series with the newly hired writers? To which Michael said, happy to clarify, the main story director is the same person since The Witcher 1. The main vision holder is the same person since Witcher 1, and I've been around since 20 years too. I hope that answers your question. Another person asked the question, 100 of how many? Because internet says there was 1,500 people working on The Witcher 3. Doesn't sound like a lot of people still working. Maybe I'm wrong. Correct me then. To which the CEO said, happy to correct. We were north of 200 people on Witcher 3. The person responded, sounds good then. So this is where things got a little bit interesting. Someone on Twitter actually responded to the thread and said this, I love how they keep pushing the word that they still have the staff who worked on the previous Witcher titles, like we don't know they lost their prime meat from the bone. The user then said they also don't want to openly tell you about those Sweet Baby Inc. employees working for them now. To which Michael Nowowski said this, and I quote, we are not working and never worked with Sweet Baby, never even heard of them until recently, to be honest. Also, we have not lost the prime meat, as you put it. So yes, according to the joint CEO, they are not working with Sweet Baby. Dude, like, can we just stop talking about this company already? Yes, I totally agree. If a company is forcing an agenda, I don't think that's a good thing. But the amount of buzzwords and just regurgitated slop that I've heard multiple times from the same crowd is getting really old. Like, we get it, you don't want to play the game, so don't play the game. But to throw out these buzzwords about every single thing that releases nowadays is getting really old really quick. But going back to what the CEO said, we have not lost the prime meat, as you put it, which I tend to agree. There's a lot of the current developers who are working on The Witcher 4 who recently shipped one of the best expansions to a video game ever outside of, Blood and Wine, that being the Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty expansion. Like, a lot of those quote unquote new employees worked on Phantom Liberty, which was insane. The writing, the gameplay, the level design, the branching storylines, all top tier work with Phantom Liberty. So am I concerned about The Witcher 4? Maybe a little bit, but it's not even about the developers. It's about the game engine. Like, I'm more concerned about Unreal Engine 5 being used than I am about the developers working on the thing. And furthermore, whatever happened to like waiting for a game to get fully released before complaining about it? Like, what is this trend of a game not even out yet? And there's already people with their pitchforks raised just already complaining about every little thing. Should you buy the game at launch? Should you pre-order it? Probably not. But if your entire existence, or even part of your existence, is complaining about every new thing that's announced or stuff that's being worked on, finding every little thing to nitpick at, it's got to be exhausting, and I almost feel bad for them. But what I will say is this: if you want to protest with your wallet. If you don't like something, then simply don't buy it. So next up, we actually have some details that were recently revealed on how the trailer for The Witcher 4 was actually made, which from the trailer, we learned that it was made using Unreal Engine 5. But I'd like to reference this image right here from user on the Witcher 4 Reddit Against Hate 2001. And this post was from the actual developers of the CGI trailer. I believe the company name is either Platige or Platige, I'm not really sure, but they're the ones who actually made the trailer alongside CDPR. Now, someone commented on the post and said, "Top notch, just curious, was it deferred rendering or did you use path tracing in some parts?" To which the head of CG over at the company said this, and I quote, "It was with Lumen only, which is an Unreal Engine 5 tech. They said that the movie had to look as close to what players will see in-game as possible. So no path tracing, no external cloth or muscle simulations. Everything is done in a classic in-game cutscene manner." And that is still absolutely wild to think about. The fact that this was done in-engine and this is how the cinematics for The Witcher 4 will look like is about to be absolutely incredible. Like, I already thought that The Witcher 4 was like the top notch. Same with even like Cyberpunk 2077. Like, I never thought cutscenes for games would look like actual movies, but this looks like a movie and it is cinema. The characters rendered in real time in game are going to obviously look different, but the fact that this is what the cutscenes look like tells me that the gameplay could look just as good. I mean, look at Hellblade 2. That game, it's almost impossible to distinguish the gameplay versus the cutscene. And the only really disappointing part about Hellblade is just the overall combat. So if we get the Witcher style gameplay with the same graphics and quality of a game like Hellblade 2, we're about to be eating really good. Like, the technology has gone so far that we're nearing the uncanny valley. Honestly, we're pretty much there. So this brings us to the next bit of news, and that is news that's coming soon. And this is from the CD Projekt Red Investor Relations Twitter account. And they recently posted this graphic right here, which is the earnings publication dates. This is when they're going to be doing their investor relations reports. So the first one is on the 27th of March, 2025, and that's a separate and consolidated annual reports for 2024. On the 28th of May, 2025, we have the consolidated quarterly report for Q1 2025. On the 28th of August 2025, there is the semi-annual report for half 1 2025, and then November 26th you have the consolidated quarterly report for Q3 2025. Now, in each of these dates we should be getting some news and updates regarding things like the development updates. We've obviously have the Witcher 1 remake that's in the works, we have the Witcher 4, we have Project Orion that's in development. So at each of these dates we should get some sort of information about how the development is going, how many developers are working on all of the key projects. So at each of these dates we could be getting news for The Witcher 4 and other games like that. And the Witcher 4 trailer that we got was obviously just the initial reveal, but hopefully later this year we get some details about when we could potentially see the release window. Now, we might have to wait until next year, but who knows at this point. Either way, we got the dates on when we should pay attention to CDPR. But yeah, guys, that's going to wrap it up with this video. Are you excited for The Witcher 4? What are your thoughts on all of the discussions today? Let me know down below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe to the channel with your notifications turned on so you're not missing out on any future gaming news. And until next time, this has been Wes, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.